guys! Today I'm going to talk about a movie called It Follows. It came out in 2014 and was directed by David Robert Mitchell. The movie follows a young girl named Jay after she contracts something after having sex with a boy on their first date. What she contracts isn't exactly an STD, and she doesn't end up getting pregnant. Instead, she sort of has a curse placed upon her. This curse entails that wherever she goes and whatever she does, there's going to be something following her, walking straight towards her. This thing could look like someone that she knows, or it could look like someone that she's never met before. But either way, she cannot let this thing catch her, or else it's gonna kill her. The only way that she can pass it on is by having sex with someone else, thus passing it on the way that it was passed on to her. Now, overall, I really, really enjoyed this movie. From the minute that I saw the trailer, I knew that I needed to see it because I thought the plot was very original, unlike things that we had ever seen before. It poses a very interesting question. If you try putting yourself into Jay's shoes, you have to think, what would you do in that situation? Would you pass it on to someone that you know? Would you do what her date did and take someone out on a nice dinner date, go to the movies, gain their trust, and have sex with them and pass it on? Or would you just download Tinder and meet up with someone that you don't know, never met before, have sex with them and pass it on, and then never answer their texts or phone calls again? What would you do? I think that the plot is original, like I said, compared to other movies that have been coming out recently. It seems like Hollywood is currently obsessed with demonic possession and paranormal entities, and I am so tired of seeing those movies. Now, this is a paranormal entity, sort of. People have been calling it a demon, people have been calling it a paranormal entity, as I just said, but it's different from other movies. It's not a demonic possession, and it's not a creaky old haunted house. This is something horrifying because you cannot escape it unless you act on it. Now, I think that character-wise, we don't really get to see too much into the personality of most of the characters besides Jay or her best friend Paul. Paul has always sort of had a crush on Jay, and at one point even offers to let her pass it on to him. However, Jay refuses to do this because she knows that even though it would mean getting rid of her problem, it would be passing it on to Paul and putting his life at risk, which she doesn't want to do because she loves him too much as a friend. And I think that that says a lot about Jay, and it shows us a lot of her personality, and it shows a lot of Paul's personality. It shows that he's loyal, and he's caring, and he's willing to put his life on the line for his friend. However, they have two other friends in their group who we don't really get to see much of, and we don't really know too much about. And it's just kind of left at that. Where we follow Jay, we get to know her a little bit, get to know Paul a little tiny bit, but don't get to know the rest of the characters in the film. Acting-wise, I think that the actors did very, very well considering what they were given. Like I said, I don't think the characters were very fleshed out. However, these actors were able to make the characters likable and relatable. The entire time you're rooting for these kids. You're hoping that they succeed in defeating it without having to pass it on, and you're hoping that they aren't put in danger anymore, and you're really hoping that this thing doesn't catch Jay because you like them. You relate to them because these kids are just average teenagers. They're really bored with life up until this opportunity arises. And even when it comes up at first, most of her friends don't believe Jay. Most of her friends think that she's just lying or joking, but once the thing starts attacking the friend group more and more, they realize that the situation at hand is pretty dangerous and that they need to take care of it. And so it's really cool seeing the group dynamic shift from bored, not having an agenda, to it's go time, it's action time, we need to take care of this problem and defend our friend. So even though we don't get to see much character dynamics or character development on an individual level, it's nice to see it on a group level. Now, when it comes to scares, I love what this movie has done with scares. It doesn't rely on jump scares. I hate them so much. I hate jump scares. I think that they are nothing but a cheap cop out. If you have a lot of jump scares in your movie, it tells me that you don't know how to write actual scary scenes. You don't know how to put characters in actual terrifying situations. You just know that by having someone go at the camera and playing a loud sound behind it, that'll get the audience to jump, but it's not going to make them afraid. This movie knows how to build tension and knows how to make you scared. The entire time you're watching this movie and the characters are anywhere, you're looking in the background and you're wondering, is it going to come around the corner? Or is it that person that's walking down the street behind them? Is that the thing? You never know, and that's what makes it scary. And then when you do know that it is the thing on screen, you're wondering, how close is it going to get? What is it going to do to these kids next? And your heart just starts racing and you're just wondering, and you get so much anxiety because of the pacing and because of the overall plot. The fact that this thing could be absolutely anyone, it makes you afraid of everyone who's on screen. You don't know who it could be, and I think that that is what helps build up so much tension. There are a few scares that some people have claimed are jump scares, but I don't really see it as such because, like I said, most jump scares have a loud noise behind it that doesn't actually really make much sense. But this movie does know how to put fear into its audience, and I love it. I also think that this movie has wonderful cinematography. It is a beautifully shot movie. And I always joke with my friends that if you take any still from this movie, you could probably fit it in on someone's aesthetic Tumblr blog or someone's hipster Instagram account. You know what I'm saying? The accounts that have photos of nothing but like retro classic telephones or beautiful photos of mountains, because this movie really does build on the old retro 80s aesthetic with the set and the clothing and just the general design. In my head right now, I'm thinking of Jay's bedroom mainly, the lighting and everything. It just looks like a retro 80s movie, and it's sort of a love letter to cheesy 80s horror movies, but it's a good cheesy. It's not a, oh my god, this movie is so stupid, will it just end cheesy. It's, oh man, this is cute and kind of fun, and it's reminding me of movies that I saw as a kid. Or if you're like me and you weren't born in the 80s or weren't alive in the 80s, it's, hey, this reminds me of those movies from a long time ago that I've seen a bunch of times. Along with the cinematography, another thing that I really love about this movie is the soundtrack. Like I said, it fits in with that cheesy retro 80s aesthetic that this movie has. The entire soundtrack is done by Disaster Piece, and it reminds you of music that you would hear in old 80s horror movies, and it also kind of reminds me of video games a little bit. I haven't heard many other people say it reminds them as such, but it reminds me for some reason. I don't know. But I'm obsessed with this soundtrack, honestly. Like, I'll put it on and listen to it when I'm doing my homework or I'm cleaning my room. It's nice background music. Like, especially the title song. The song that is playing during the title sequence. Once you hear it, you will say, oh my god, this does remind me of 80s horror. But it's great. I love it so much. So overall, I really, really loved this movie, and it's become one of my favorite movies, and one of my favorite movies that have come out in recent years. I love the plot, I love how it looks, I love the soundtrack, I love the actors. Overall, it's just a great movie, and I really hope that this is the direction that horror movies are going in. I know it came out 2 years ago, but I am praying that other horror movie directors will see this film and realize, hey, we don't need jump scares to scare our audience. We just need to learn how to build tension. And that is what this movie does so well. So I really, really, really recommend that everyone who sees this video goes and sees It Follows, because you're gonna have a fun time. You're gonna enjoy it. So yeah, go see It Follows.